Homie duped your friends off their money, so we crashed their wedding. One of my friends and our large friend group had a business idea after school that we all jumped in on. Her name is Catherine. She was like the least ambitious of us all on campus. All of us started our businesses, and we tried to get her to join in with us, but she was always like, there's things cut out for some people and some things not cut out for them. Not everyone will be an entrepreneur and stuff. We accepted that, but then during breaks and long holiday periods, we also tried to get her to apply for a job, internships, or junior roles, but she also wouldn't. Her excuses were something like they need someone more qualified. I can't juggle school and work. I'm too busy to get a job this holiday. At some point, it started getting obvious to us that she just was not ready. On one occasion, our mutual friends and I joined in on telling her that she had given the same not qualified excuse for so long. Someone who really wanted it would have sucked it up and gotten the necessary qualifications by then, but not Catherine. She preferred to live off her parents' money with no plans for securing a future for herself. We all knew that the end of the road was ultimately going to be ugly, but there was another consolation. She had her rich boyfriend, Mark. Mark knew Catherine's family. Mark was just what her parents wanted for her, and she loved him so much. There was no doubt that she was going to be the first of us to get married after school. As for me, I was planning to further my education by getting a master's degree. My friend Kennedy was going to go into her dry cleaning business. Lola was becoming a chef, and Benedicta found an opening in a marketing agency. There were more of us, but not to be mentioned here. You might be wondering why a couple of achievers like us hung out with someone like her. Well, it wasn't really a thing then to cut people off, and she was our friend long before we started becoming ambitious in college. Anyway, the idea was that she would get married to her rich boyfriend, and that would be the end of her friends bothering her about making money for herself. Well, graduation day came, and we said our goodbyes. Some of us traveled back to the countries we came from to study, and others moved away to live in newer locations. We stayed in touch with each other. I bagged my degree, and other business owners started to make waves in their industry. Video calls were more or less about us ranting about adult life, comparing the life we had on campus to what we had now, and arguing about which of us had a better life. Catherine was never about that life, while some of us were coming back to the group chats with news about her new restaurant opening, new houses, new cars, new man. Catherine was always taking pictures in fancy places, pictures of her by herself in Paris. And when they went together to Dubai, it flooded our group chats. It was like Caddy was trying to prove to us that she didn't need to be hardworking like the rest of us to be affluent in life. Finally, Mark proposed to her. He was a gentleman, so nobody was surprised. He could not have dated her that long to leave her hanging. Truly, what all of us were waiting for was the news, and we had it. So it came down to us asking Catherine when the wedding would be and where it would be held. Somehow, Caddy, who used to be so vibrant and responsive in the group chat, came off as busy and totally ghosting us. Naturally, we assumed it was all because of the wedding preparations. A girl has to choose her dress, pick a hall, and organize things with her event planner. But still, no one knew the date of her wedding. It took weeks, but later, Catherine came online again, and instead of replying to the messages we left her in the group, she went to each one of us privately. Apparently, she had a new business idea. My concern was reasonable. Was this business idea so important that it trumped all the other questions we had about her wedding? Was it that serious? If the business idea weighed higher than the wedding in Catherine's scale, then it's two things. Either the scale is broken or Catherine went through a life-changing turn of events that reorientated her mind. It turned out to be the second one. Honestly, we're still not sure what made Catherine want to get a job. It had to be connected to the wedding. Someone said that Mark was not willing to pay for the expensive wedding that she desired. Another person said that she checked the financial demands on a growing family and realized that if she wanted to have kids, she had to reduce her lifestyle. That was traumatizing enough. But from our calculations, Mark's income alone should have been able to sustain their family. Something else was up, something that was our inherent fear. It has not yet been confirmed, but we believe that Mark dropped in ranks where he worked as his pay was not quite high as it was before. This kind of woke Catherine up to the reality she had to face because the wedding was soon and it had to be perfect, just like she already imagined it to be. So Catherine started a thrift-closed business where she sold classic dresses, palazzo pants, chiffon tops, and work blazers to chic women. Many of her clothes were on the expensive side, but since we were supporting our friend and most of what she sold was incredibly fashionable, we decided to buy some things from her. However, Catherine in the shop business was a little different. There were things that were on pre-order, and we could only get the things we bought if we pre-ordered them. To help out, I bought some gowns, shoes, jackets, and camisoles, all totaling to the amount of $60. I know people who bought up to $105 or even $200. Come on, this was our friend, and she was finally doing the business we so much wanted her to do. Plus, whether she came clean or not, we understood that they needed the money. So, Catherine posted some pictures. And as she posted them, we could choose the ones that we wanted and forward our invoice to her with our desired sizes and colors, obviously to get her more customers. All our friends forwarded these pictures as many as we could, to all the people we knew. We pushed her young business like it was ours. Now, this is where the real problem started from. If it was left at just a friendship circle thing, we could have easily let go, but this was more. Others had reordered and sent their money, and Catherine had told us to do. We were excited to help and proud that we could get a number of women to participate too. But sometimes your good ideas turn out to be bad ideas. When it was time for the shipment to be made and for the goods to be delivered as promised, Catherine came up with so many excuses as to why her goods had not yet been delivered. A month turned into 2, and it wasn't getting clear that we were going to get those goods that we ordered. But I had colleagues, neighbors, and relatives on my neck asking me about my friend's business. When were they going to get their clothes? Apart from me, others also had people to deal with, paying customers who had given their money to receive their goods. How were we supposed to disappoint them all? Catherine went awfully quiet. She wasn't responding to any of us. We started having conference calls just because of her to know who had finally reached out to her and gotten a response. Poor Mark, too, he wasn't out of this, but he assured us to get Catherine to respond to us. But the chick was too afraid to face us one-on-one. What happened? Maybe any of these few things. Her lack of exposure in business finally caught up with her because she needed to learn that it's not everyone you meet that you can do business with. It was probably the business of a fraudster, and now he had all the money and he disappeared. Or it was that Catherine herself was the fraudster, and she was holding on to our money somewhere, knowing she was never going to release the goods. Or it could actually really be delayed goods, or maybe the ship sank. Whatever, just anything to get our money back. Or at least the dresses. The weeks passed again, and I don't know what others started telling their friends and families so that they would loosen their tight grip on our necks. I felt very much betrayed, embarrassed, and foolish. This was the same with everyone who tried to help. Others were going on and on about how helping people has always been a bad idea. I think at this point, everyone gave up on Catherine and her boyfriend Mark. She definitely knew that one day the noise would go down, and after that, she could come out okay again. Well, as for me, I genuinely forced myself to forget about it. I knew Catherine was fine and would be fine in the end, so I had to mind my business and leave her to mind hers. There were speculations that she had duped her entire family and friends, so that there wasn't even one person left to invite her to her wedding, so they did it small. That was how we liked to joke amongst ourselves. Surprisingly, one of those days we heard about Catherine's destination wedding. It wasn't going to happen in the States or in one of those very expensive, exclusive mouth-watering weddings, but it was going to take place back in her African home. The person who shared it in our group chat made fun of her that they would finally have to go small. But I knew that these African weddings would cost her nothing less than a couple of million if it first started as a joke. Someone brought up the idea of crashing in and causing a scene. I remembered that in all the Nigerian weddings I'd seen, a lot of money was being thrown around. We could each count our money back and get our specific amounts each. Some liked my idea. Others just thought it would be better to actually crash the wedding and bring everything down because Catherine didn't deserve any of it. Whatever our various reasons were, we all found ourselves buying plane tickets to travel to Nigeria. We found out the exact date and time of the wedding. We booked a hotel very close to the venue, and everything was set. Catherine thought she was so sneaky by not telling us about her wedding. We stood by her through everything on campus, but because she messed up, that was her way of saving herself from us. Come on, we were originally supposed to be the bridesmaids. Mark knew this, but he was still letting the wedding go on without us. He knew his wife was a fraud, and he also never talked to us about the money we had lost. So any last strand of pity for them had left me long enough. I was not in Nigeria to have a civil conversation. We were there to make sure the wedding was not a success, and we were going to do it the hard way. I don't know how Kennedy got us passes into the place. Security in these weddings are always top-notch, but we got one ticket, and that was all that mattered. Catherine was going to have one of the worst evenings of her life to remember for the rest of her days. We were there too early, so we stayed parked in our car under the tree for fear that someone might remember us. There were 4 of us in the car, representing a larger number of 6 girls. It remained the goal to interrupt the wedding, whether or not we could get our compensation, just as long as Catherine cried for what she did to us. We waited for quite a while. It had to be when the couple had entered inside and dancing was going on in the party that we sneaked in, got to the mic, and ended the whole thing. Someone even talked about wrecking the cake, others about taking gifts with us, but I think that would have been criminal. So we did as planned. Catherine had a live stream going on. It was streamed on all her social media platforms. She probably thought that we, her friends, were back in our different countries watching, as she thought she could make us furious with a few pics on IG too about their traditional wedding pictures. Unfortunately, her wedding was only a secret to no one. When we saw that it was time for the bride and groom to dance in, we got ourselves ready. Relatives and friends danced around them, spraying wads of cash. We stepped down from the car, fully adorned in our Nigerian attires, makeup, nails, hair, everything. 2 of us marched to the stage, while the other 2 of us went to pick up as many notes of cash could be found on the floor. The look of dismay on Catherine's face was to die for. Even Mark stopped dancing. The music stopped, and when I got to the mic, I told everyone to stay clear of us. We were not party crashers. We were her original bridesmaids who she duped and ran away to Nigeria with our money to have her wedding. We were there to recover everything back and to make everyone know that they were celebrating with a fraudulent couple. The mothers and aunties started to beg. Catherine was crying. I ended my speech with, "Well, happy married life." This is the speech from the original bridesmaids. The whole party was too stunned to speak. Everyone was too frozen to stop us until someone called security. Maybe it was Mark, but that was his mistake. We could have gone without causing too much damage, but when the security showed up, we started resisting, objects were broken, and the party crashed completely. People started running home for their safety. The gift table was overturned. If there was any gift remaining that wasn't broken, Catherine was very lucky. Well, anyway, we were able to bribe these men, and we left scot-free. Back to the Instagram Live and other streaming channels. The comments there were so hilarious. The wedding had to end on that note, and Catherine, well, she came back to us to ask for our forgiveness.